Rebuild. In American sports, it's a word loaded with pain. Years of losing, tanking for draft picks, waiting for the right moment to strike. But one of the great NBA rebuilds of our time didn't play by those rules. No top overall pick, no instant superstar. Instead, it was one man, a second rounder, who changed everything. For the first time in decades, this isn't about damage control. It's about chasing a championship. The Nuggets reached the NBA mountaintop in 2023, and they believe they can do it again. This is the blueprint, the Denver Nuggets edition. It all started with a Taco Bell commercial. Let me explain. After 10 consecutive seasons making the playoffs but never reaching the NBA Finals, the Nuggets organization parted ways with longtime head coach George Karl in 2013, shortly after GM Masai Ujiri departed for Toronto.
And this comes as a great surprise to players and folks. When you look at what the Nuggets accomplished over the last year, incredible success, really. The general manager of the year, the coach of the year. Now in less than a week, both are gone, away from Pepsi Center. Take a look at reaction now from Twitter. This is Kenneth Fareed tweeting, "So we lost a GM, now a coach. What's next?" It appears this decision is more about playoff losses than regular season wins. We know that George Karl had a great 57-game season last year for the Nuggets, but he's been here since 2005, and only once have the Nuggets made it out of the first round of the playoffs. That was 2009.
In came Tim Connolly as Executive VP of Basketball Operations, who hired up-and-coming coach Brian Shaw as Karl's replacement. A 36-win debut effort in 2013-14 was disappointing to say the least. But in the 2014 draft, Connolly's second as GM, the Nuggets made the most impactful selection in franchise history. After trading away the pick that eventually became Rudy Gobert the year before, Denver would need a big swing in 2014. They traded their 14th pick for the 16th and 19th, which they spent on Jusuf Nurkic and Gary Harris, respectively. Then, in the middle of the second round, just as a commercial for Taco Bell's new quesarito was being aired, the Denver Nuggets selected Nikola Jokic, 41st overall. He was slow, unathletic, a defensive liability, but the kid could flat out play. His feel for the game was special, and Denver knew it. With Jokic back in Serbia, the Nuggets were even worse in 2014-15, with just 30 wins. Seeing Brian Shaw fired by March, Connolly replaced him with Michael Malone, who had recently been fired by the Sacramento Kings. Although Malone didn't exactly arrive covered in glory, the franchise was in clear need of a shakeup. The use of their lottery pick on point guard Emmanuel Mudiay proved to be a complete bust, but the 2015-16 season was critical for the Nuggets in a different way. Veteran signing Will Barton helped stabilize the new Malone regime, while Nikola Jokic exceeded all expectations, playing 80 games, 55 of which he started, seeming to knock Nurkic, his draft classmate, off his perch. Joker finished third in Rookie of the Year voting, made the All-Rookie First Team, and was rapidly winning the fans, and more importantly, Michael Malone's affection. A 33-win season locked Denver in for a lottery pick, which they spent on guard Jamal Murray out of Kentucky. While it took Murray time to adjust to life in the league, 2016-17 was a much better year for the team overall. Jokic recorded his first triple-doubles, emerging as a legitimate playmaking threat, to the extent that Nurkic had outwardly expressed his desire for a trade and was eventually dealt to Portland for Mason Plumlee, a second-rounder, and cash. Malone rallied the team to 40 wins for the first time in 4 years, finishing just one win shy of a playoff spot. The 2017 draft delivered one of Denver's biggest what-ifs, selecting Donovan Mitchell, then trading him to Utah for Trey Lyles and Tyler Lydon, both gone within 3 seasons. A miss, no doubt. But Jamal Murray was heating up alongside an ever-improving Nikola Jokic, whose 10 triple-doubles powered the Nuggets to 46 wins. A heartbreaking play-in loss to the Timberwolves kept the playoff drought alive, but it was clear the team was knocking on the door. But by losing that one extra game, they were afforded a slightly higher selection in the 2018 draft, which they spent on Michael Porter Jr.
all you can do is prove people right. You know what I mean? Like you got to perform, but being drafted at 14th, I get to prove everybody wrong. So that'll be really fun, and I can't wait to do that.
MPJ's injury concerns initially saw him fall in the draft, and unfortunately, those concerns were vindicated early in his Nuggets career, as he missed his entire rookie season following back surgery. But this time around, the Nuggets finally made the playoffs behind a remarkable surge from Nikola Jokic, who earned his first All-Star nod, as well as being named first-team All-NBA for his efforts. Jamal Murray had successfully completed his transition from shooting guard to point guard. Denver secured the West's 2 seed behind their dynamic duo.
The Nuggets went up to Toronto and took down the Raptors, who still own the league's best record. Nikola Jokic had a triple-double, and they lost Gary Harris in the first quarter due to hip soreness. So, Paul Pierce, the truth is in the house. Amin's in the house. Paul, is Denver officially the second-best team in the West?
Absolutely. I got them going to the conference finals this year. And they're not even playing their best ball. You got to understand, they're going to get Willie Barton back. They're going to get IT if he can give them something this year. So they're a deep team. And the way Joker is playing, he's playing at an MVP level. I think they are.
They made their return to the playoffs against San Antonio, and the Spurs took them to 7 games. But in the end, Denver advanced to the conference semis for the first time since 2009. Unfortunately, they ran into the prime Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum Trailblazers, who downed Jokic and company in 7 games. Nevertheless, this was a very encouraging return to the postseason for Denver, which sought to build on that success ahead of the 2019-20 season. Their only 2019 draft pick was spent on Bol Bol. Before the suspension of the season due to COVID-19, the Nuggets were poised to be the West 3 seed, a position which they held on to once they reached the bubble. Jokic was an all-star once again, while the bubble brought the absolute best out of Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. After going 3-1 down to the Jazz in the first round of the playoffs, Denver came back to win the series in 7, only to repeat the feat once again when faced with the Kawhi Paul George Clippers in the conference semis. The series win over the Jazz was made sweeter by the fact that their superstar duo of Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell had both originally been drafted by Denver. Also, no one had ever done it before, coming back from 3-1 down twice in the same postseason. The Bubble Nuggets weren't just surviving, they were making history. In the conference finals, the eventual champion Lakers bested them in 5 games. Once again, playoff success on this scale had to be uplifting for the organization as a whole. Their comebacks against Utah and the Clippers were evidence of the fighting spirit in this team, with plenty of trademark playoff moments for the fan base to cling on to. According to NBA writer C.T. Fazio, the bubble was the turning point for the Denver Nuggets organization. It was the first time in a long time that they looked to be legitimate championship contenders. In 2020-21, they earned a playoff spot for the 3rd consecutive season, once again as the 3 seed. This was off the back of an MVP season from Nikola Jokic, who was finally being recognized as one of the finest players of this era. The Joker wasn't just in the MVP race, he was redefining what a big man could be.
So you going with Jokic as your number 1?
Yep.
Well, who you going with your number 1, Perk?
I mean, I'm going to go with Jokic. He won the MVP.
All right, well, there you
one
go.
thing about me, Rachel, is that I'm not going to straddle the fence, all right?
Yeah.
So X, I'm going to tell you, I'm going with Jokic.
Amen.
The rest of the team was thriving too, with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray enjoying career seasons. Meanwhile, a trade for Aaron Gordon saw Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a future first-rounder leave Denver. Gordon helped round out an elite starting unit that could make a legitimate championship push. On paper, Denver's core was built to win it all. Now they just had to prove it. They appeared to do just that, handling Portland in 6 games, before they were mercilessly swept by the Suns as injuries to Murray and MPJ eventually caught up with them. Those injuries would spill over into the following season, but Denver still made the playoffs behind another immense MVP campaign from Nikola Jokic. The rest of the roster stepped up big time, with the likes of Aaron Gordon and rookie Bones Nyland making an impact throughout the season. They didn't have enough to challenge the Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. However, their crash out was something of a write-off given their injury situation. In the 2022 offseason, after nearly a decade of service, Tim Connolly was replaced by Calvin Booth. Booth got to work immediately, trading longtime servants Monte Morris and Will Barton in exchange for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to get some more athletic wing talent on the roster. Bruce Brown came in for a similar effect on a 2-year deal with a second-year player option. In the draft, they brought in Christian Brown, as well as guard Peyton Watson. However, it wasn't all good news for the youth in Denver. They wound up trading second-year guard Bones Nyland at the deadline for attitude reasons, despite the glimpses of promise he had shown. Safe to say, that was for the best. Denver secured the 1 seed in the West with an impeccably balanced core of players, which had been carefully constructed around Nikola Jokic, their one true superstar. It only took Denver 5 games to take care of Minnesota in round 1 before the Suns gave them a tougher time in the conference semis. When they made it back to the Western Conference Finals, it was a rematch of the 2020 edition. This time around, 3 years later, the roles were reversed, as the Denver Nuggets cathartically swept the Lakers to reach their first NBA Finals.
They toyed with the Los Angeles Lakers. Jamal Murray toyed with them in the first half. Collectively, they toyed with the Lakers in the second half. They couldn't stop Jamal Murray in the first half. In the second half, they couldn't stop Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They couldn't stop Bruce Brown. They couldn't stop Nikola Jokic. And as a result, the Lakers the Denver Nuggets have brought broomsticks to Southern California. They're on the verge of sweeping this team.
From a Taco Bell commercial to the top of the basketball world, the Denver Nuggets were NBA champions. The second rounder from Serbia had led them all the way to the summit. Jokic ran the series against the Heat, averaging 30.2 points, 14 rebounds, and 7.2 assists, earning him his first Finals MVP. The second-round pick was on top of the basketball world, and he stayed there all through their championship defense in the 2023-24 season. Joker won his third MVP as Denver finished the year with 57 wins, third most in franchise history. It was an incredible accomplishment for the big man, but he didn't exactly seem blown away by it.
From the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic. Excited.
The Nuggets made light work of the Lakers once again in the first round, but ran into a tough Timberwolves team in the conference semis. In 7 games, the defending champs were down thanks to some inhuman performances from Anthony Edwards and company. All of a sudden, it seemed some serious reflection was needed in Colorado. Bruce Brown had chosen not to re-sign the previous offseason, which proved a far bigger loss than anyone anticipated. Caldwell-Pope was on his way out in the 2024 offseason, and the Nuggets had a hard time finding a suitable replacement. 2024-25 looked fine on paper with 50 wins, but behind the scenes, chaos. The front office was at war, the roster was banged up, and by April, the cracks were impossible to ignore. GM Calvin Booth and head coach Michael Malone were reportedly butting heads, and their first-round pick tore his ACL before the season even started, as the cracks started to show by March. After 4 straight losses in early April, both Booth and Malone were relieved of their duties, a matter of weeks before the beginning of the playoffs. Neither one of them would get a chance to recreate their 2023 championship run.
The news of the week, Chuckster, the Denver Nuggets firing Michael Malone and GM Calvin Booth in the last week of the season.
From what I'm hearing, the owner did not want to pick a side because he said if I keep Mike, people are going to think I chose him over Calvin, or if I keep Calvin, let him go. From what I heard, he just said, hey, you know what, let's just get rid of both of them. And it's really unfortunate because Mike Malone is a really good coach, and let's be fair, Calvin had done a hell of a job.
Instead, Malone's assistant, David Edelman, took over head coaching duties, while Ben Tenzer, vice president of basketball operations, was moved to GM. This meant the 4 seed in the West entered the playoffs with an interim head coach and general manager who had only been on the job for a grand total of 11 days. Yikes. Denver had enough to see off the Clippers in round 1, but were narrowly beaten by the eventual champions in the conference semis. Making matters worse, Jokic lost the MVP to SGA despite averaging a triple-double. Maybe the front office drama had bigger implications than initially thought. The championship core was cracking. But with Jokic, the dream was still alive. Both of the interim hires were made full-time, and the newly official GM has made some big swings already. Tenzer sent Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 first-rounder to Brooklyn for Cameron Johnson, before sending Dario Saric to Sacramento in exchange for Jonas Valanciunas. He brought back Bruce Brown, while also bringing Tim Hardaway Jr. into the fold. There's a lot of upheaval on this roster, led by a new head coach for the first time in a decade. But with the already legendary Nikola Jokic at the heart of it all, you can never count this team out when it comes time to talk favorites. The faces have changed, the system is new, but with Nikola Jokic in Denver, you're never out of the fight. The only question now, can they climb the mountain again?